Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We're on Love 99.5 FM. We're on a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We're on Amenuveve FM in Aflao, Dreams FM in Bogatanga, Ganga FM in Jirapa, ATL FM in Cape Coast. We are live on Twitter Spaces. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplast Ghana Limited. Producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. This afternoon, the Electricity Company of Ghana is proposing a tariff adjustment and review of government subsidies as debt owed to independent power producers and others, threatening the very existence of the company.
It's not a cost-reflective tariff because government subsidizes or attempts to subsidize on behalf of the good people of Ghana. We have to reconsider and say we have to pay realistic tariffs. Let's apply it, and then maybe every month, per how the forex is moving, we adjust, just like the fuel.
We'll delve into some of the key challenges facing the ECG and plans by management to address them. Also this afternoon, managers of pension funds risk being on a collision course with contributors as they are resolved to consider government's new debt restructuring offer in case the wrath of Labour.
The managers of our funds cannot do anything without us. If they think that technically they will accept, we actually give them the money to manage for us.
We're here from the Individual Bondholders Forum, which wants government to show commitment by reducing expenditure to win over Labour.
This business class nonsense must stop. The truth of the matter, the most of these people sitting there, when before government, they couldn't even spell business class. Everybody, including ministers, everybody has to fly economy. When people start seeing signs like this, everybody starts saying, okay, you're also trying something.
Also in this package, current management of PBC say they cannot be blamed for recent fortunes of the company following Joy News' latest investigative piece detailing the steep fall of the company.
The losses of PBC started way back in 2013, and that is where I would want everybody to know that it's not as it's being portrayed that the current management is the cause of the company's downward trend of the market share.
We'll get to hear from Coco Board on this. We have sports.
We'll hear from Ghanaian boxer Freezy McBones on being tagged as Britain's new Mike Tyson.
And there's danger for the fishing industry in Ghana as activities of pirates forces Ghanaian fishing vessels to retreat or face attacks, especially on international waters.
Because of the pirates, we are unable to do so anymore. We may probably need to board Navy as we do, but because we can't go with Navy into some other jurisdiction, we will probably need some diplomatic intervention.
There's an assurance from President Akufo-Addo on this. So we have that and more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Thanks for staying on. And in our very first story for this afternoon, the Electricity Company of Ghana is proposing tariff adjustments to reflect current trends and also afford the struggling company the space to manage its finances. The company is also proposing government review its subsidy on electricity. ECG is currently on a revenue mobilization drive to collect some 5.7 billion cedis owed by customers, but the money, if even all is collected, will fall short of the debt obligations of the company. We'll walk you through some of the pressing demands on ECG, but first, let's hear the managing director of the company, Samuel Dubik Mahama, on the debt situation.
If you are not collecting enough, then what's your story? If it's even less in CD-wise, collect enough so you can shift the burden onto somebody else's doorstep. You understand? See, let's say, for example, if the CD to the dollar was 1:1 and we're collecting 100 million, we are apples to apples in terms, but you don't have that in the perfect world that you are in now. So what are you going to do about it? That just collect enough, make sure your collections number and the rate is high enough, and then now you can ask to be given a seat in the room to discuss the way forward on the differences. So as for that one, I'll say when we get to that bridge with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Energy, we'll definitely cross it. But for now, we have to do what we have to do on our side as a company. And we also entreat the individuals and companies that purchase our product to know that we are at a point where you have to pay for what you have consumed. That's the whole conversation.
But how does the lay mind understand this gap? the gap between what you owe and how much people owe you?
So the gap is clear because what we owe is in dollars and what we collect in cedis. You understand? So that's a whole tariff conversation about how to close the gap as quickly as possible. Maybe PURC has to start looking at leaving maybe some 2 or 3 or 4 pesos in there for us to close the gap on the cedi to dollar ratio, or PURC has to adjust the forex bandwidth. It's all a conversation to be had. But at the end of the day, as a company, I choose to always drop the problem at the doorstep of ECG. If you're supposed to collect 100 and you collect the entire 100 and it's not enough, then you can ask for help. But currently you're supposed to collect 100 and you are not collecting the 100. So how do you even say that it's not enough? You understand? So it's a moral obligation thing for the company ECG to do its best to collect enough.
We're not paying realistic tariffs, and that's why there's that gap.
By and large, yes, because it's not a cost-reflective tariff, because government subsidizes or attempts to subsidize on behalf of the good people of Ghana. But maybe that's a conversation for the future where we have to reconsider and say we have to pay realistic tariffs. So you know what, scrap all of this and then let's apply it, and then maybe every month, per how the forex is moving, we adjust just like the fuel.
That's the Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama. My colleague Elton Brobe has been taking a look at the debt profile and the books of the Electricity Company of Ghana. He joins me in studio. Elton, so you've intercepted some documents on ECG's debt issues and the demands on them. Let's walk through it.
So, for yesterday, we spoke about the ECG's debt to WE, for example, which currently stands at $600 million US. There's also the independent power producers, but this 1.4 billion cannot be put entirely on ECG because some were entered into between the Energy Ministry and government. So ECG says that they cannot be held liable for all the 1.4 billion, but it is sitting on their books and they need to clear it. There's also debt the old Gridco for power they've taken from them and they've distributed and the money is not coming. Now, what we've been told is that the IPPs are unwilling to restructure this debt, which means that there must be a way to pay it. Now, in the last few months, ECG has been paying 50 million Ghana cedis every week to the IPPs. They say that it is simply not enough and will take years for them to settle the 1.4 billion US. And for that reason, ECG should come up with a plan to pay them off. The more reason why they don't want to restructure. Now, the cash flow of ECG is not the best. And the claim is that they have so many money in debts that they need to collect. They've been trying to raise money from the bank through a syndicated loan. They went to the capital market with the hope of raising 1 billion Ghana cedis. They were unable to do so. They got 500 million Ghana cedis. So money is an issue, and I'm told that's the reason why they are embarking on this revenue drive. But even if they are able to collect all, it will simply not be even. It will be nowhere near what they are expected to pay, and that put them in a very precarious situation.
And so far, they've been able to collect just about 2.5 billion. We're told. Okay, but the document that you've been looking at also reviews some operational lapses in ECG's books. Tell us more.
For them, what we are told is that it has emerged that 50% of customers of ECG, they've identified 4.5 million customers. Now, 50% are engaged in power theft, and that costs them almost 1 billion Ghana cedis every year. And that is something that they want to address. Now, people want meters, they don't have it. In the last 1 year, what we've been told is that they've not brought in meters because there's actually no money to do so. And that is giving rise to people now going into the market and buying fake meters, and that's also costing ECG. So, for example, if you go to Accra East, for example, they are losing 2 million Ghana cedis every month because people are not using the right meters. So these are some of the things that have been identified. There's an estimation of 20,000 illegal meters in circulation here in the Greater Accra region alone. And these meters came from neighboring Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and it's been defaced to look like it belongs to the ECG, but in actual fact it doesn't.
Okay. Well, apart from the revenue mobilization, we know that in the interim, the ECG is doing other things to collect the debt from customers.
Well, where they've got into my information that is beyond the 2.5, it is becoming extremely difficult to collect the rest. So they are looking at selling the debt to private entities that will go after them and collect the money. So ECG they have 1 billion cedis in debt. You can propose that I will collect 800 million for you and I'll take 10%. That is the new way they want to go. You can listen to the MD.
Now we talk about what happens What happens to the ones we are not able to collect? I will sell it. I will sell it. Sell the debt. I'll sell the debt. To a private collector. So let me explain something to you. At some point, ECG, there was a notion that was created on one of your programs on Joy Prime where a former MP said something that we are not able to borrow on our books. He's wrong. That is not true. ECG is doing well on his books. Our books are okay. We took our books and our cash flow. We decided to borrow a billion Ghana cedis. It was syndicated by a group of banks. They were only able to give us 50% of the money. We are waiting for the other 50%. So we had 500 million and we are waiting for the other 500 million.
Okay.
Now, fast forward. If ECG needs a billion and has to put together how many banks to get 1 billion, and ECG has a billion in debt, the quickest way is to give a discount and sell the debt.
Well, in the Volta region, some 200 customers have been taken off the grid for failing to settle their indebtedness to the ECG. Here's the public relations of ECG, Benjamin Obing Entry.
We have disconnected about 200 customers, and then these customers were owing some like 80,000 Ghana cedis. But after the disconnection exercise, these customers have responded positively. Some of them have visited our offices to make payments.
Well, in a related development, the Northern Electricity Company catchment area, the Bagabaga College of Education, has also been charged to settle its bill owed to the Northern Electricity Distribution Company. BATCO currently owes 4.1 million cedis. While speaking in a meeting ahead of a mass loan recovery by NEDCO, the managing director, Osman Ayuba, said NEDCO owes VRA and Gridco to a tune of about 2 billion cedis, and that could cripple their operation.
We are owed to the tune of over 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. But we also have a duty to also pay our creditors for the power that we buy and supply to you. We owe VRA in excess of 1.4 billion. We owe Gridco, who transmits the power, in excess of 480 million. And we also owe suppliers of meters, transformers, cables, conductors, and what have you. And so our business is being threatened.
Away from power and its related issues, now managers of pension funds risk being on a collision course with contributors as their resolve to consider government's new debt restructuring offer has incurred the wrath of Labour. The Finance Ministry has asked the Chamber of Corporate Trustees to obtain the approval of contributors for this particular offer. Government is proposing a 5% payment of coupon in cash for 2023 and 2024, with the remainder capitalized as 2 bonds. Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Corporate Trustees, Thomas Kwesieso, says its technical team is analysing the offer to determine the impact of this on the bonds.
The objective and the aim is to ensure that these bonds will continue, the bonds that our pension funds, pension schemes hold, will continue to be liquid and will continue to be tradable for members at any point in time that they need that. Okay. And one of the objective also is that to ensure that pension funds or pension contributors do not lose anything on their contributions, even if it is a proposed alternative offer or even if it is a debt exchange program. So that is why I keep on saying that our members themselves are doing the real mathematics of the impact of this on their portfolio. And when we meet on the few days' time, we'll take a decision about what the position of the industry is going to be on the proposed alternative offer for pension funds.
Labour, however, maintains that considering the new offer is not an option. Joshua Ansah is Deputy Secretary General of the TUC.
1 + 1 is equals to 2, and if you take 1 out of 1, it's 0. So yes. As for money, it doesn't need any technical eye before you can see that somebody is using your money wrongly or correctly. He himself has admitted that government is not showing the way. How can the government meet with us for us to table alternatives? And that has become a no-go area. But you want us to sacrifice and you want us to allow you to use our pension funds. The managers of our funds cannot do anything without us. They need to convince us, they need to explain issues to us, why they accept or they do not accept. If they think that technically they will accept, we actually give them the money to manage for us. So they must meet with us and convince us they should carry us along to know that yes, this is good for you. So let us carry on. Let us support the government in doing that. But anything short of that, I don't think it goes well for any labor union in this very country.
Well, the Individual Bondholders Forum backs this view, and they want government to show commitment to fiscal discipline and cutting down on what it says is reckless expenditure. Senor Jose is convener.
You owe people you can't pay, but you are sitting there and then you are flaunting, spending their money in their face. It's a bit insulting. These are petty things. If you pass a rule today, just like most corporates do, I'm telling you, go to the British Embassy. You will see what flight the staff there fly. Most of them fly economy. Going back to London. But Ghana people won't fly economy. Middle officers, everybody business class.
The old pensioners.
What the car? I mean, show something. This business class nonsense must stop. The truth of the matter, the most of these people sitting there, when before government, they couldn't even spell business class. Then now you see that business, every day, that is it. Everybody, including ministers, everybody has to fly economy. When people start seeing signs like this, everybody starts saying, okay, you're also trying something. The school, we all went some. We don't need to go to Harvard. We don't need to go to Yale. We don't need to go to Stanford. Rather, we've realized that thing does not really create any special difference. This thing, it is honest hearts and common sense. And you don't need to do much. Just show example. I'm telling you, TUC, everybody will run to support the state.
Which is really what has
carry the country along, Mr. President. Carry the country along in these difficult times. Show by example. Oh,
Senor Jose, convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. Now, the current management of the produce buying company say they cannot be blamed for recent fortunes of the company, as revealed in Joy News' latest investigative piece, PBC Troubles. That investigative desk report shows a steep decline in PBC's market share from 30.88% in 2016 to 8% in 2021. But the deputy CEO in charge of finance at the company, Vivian Bwedi, says the current management cannot be blamed.
It is a concern because PBC is one of the very key license buying companies, even though we have a number of them, about 65 license buying companies. But PBC has been one of the very best license buying companies. Despite the fact that they've had some challenges in recent years, PBC continues to be the license buying company you can count on when you have to go to the hinterland.
Well, that's the public affairs manager of Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, also commenting on the PBC troubles. Well, we can hear from the deputy CEO of PBC now, Vivian Bwedi, who says the company is drowning in debt as a result of excess borrowing, making it difficult to access loans from banks.
In 2019, just as Fifi was saying, that was when Cocoa Board intervened, and then we decided to solely rely on Cocoa Board seed fund for our operations because the cost of finance was quite high, and we couldn't also go to the bank to borrow because previous borrowings had not been paid. As of 2019 September, we owed 715 million Ghana cedis to banks, to Cocoa Board, to staff, to statutory bodies in Ghana. And this is not record that has been hidden. All our correspondence to all our stakeholders have this data in fact, and you could cross-check this with SIGA, with Cocoa Board, and with the Ministry of Finance. So it was at that point that the banks were around 495 million, and they were magnanimous. We did a restructuring, so we had to sit back and look at the financial restructuring of the company.
Well, that's the views of the current management of the produce buying company. Let's get some answers from the former chief executive, Nana Ejenim Boateng. Thankfully joins us on the line. We're grateful for your time. So the claim is that it was actually under your watch that the fortunes of PBC started going down. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, thank you very much, my sister. I said in this morning, and I requested, seriously, it would have been my business because I had handed over properly in 2016 and moved on, courtesy the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to move me to CP. By the way, the lady just mentioned from 2013 is what brought me in that I would want to speak to it. And what is it that we say? From 2013-14 till 2016-17, that we handed over, PBC consistently was doing 32 to 30.8%. So, in the time was when we carried on this mega business of the Golden Bean and the PBC share bouquet. In between this time is where we were making all these, though we were under construction, we handled well. In 2016, 17 season was the 30.8%. And the debt that we handed over was 289 million. So she will have to bring her books to show where that 700 million is. Unfortunately, she was not in charge, so I don't blame her because she was only a deputy audit manager then and has been promoted as a deputy CEO.
Okay.
But the handing over notes, which at any time I'm prepared to debate them and whoever in your office with documents, I'm prepared to do that to show, was 289 million.
Well,
that 289 million was a 42.5 million investment in Golden Bean Hotel. Was an investment in PBC share bouquet.
Well, Nana, if I may come in briefly, I know that we'll get to interrogate this further subsequently, but let me quickly find out from you in what state you would say you left the PBC.
We left it in a very solid state, and they have come to mess it up, and it is better and prudent that they own up and then let Cocoa Board help them, because as the structure has been, it's always been like this, because PBC is the buyer of last resort, and that is how every government, since we went into limited liability company in 2002, Cocoa Board and government have supported PBC to date.
Okay. Well, but Nana, briefly on this one also, the company, we've been told, has alerted the employment ministry of the decision to downsize. Would you say it's the right call?
No, my sister, why would you want to downsize? Like I'm saying, then are they moving away from their core mandate? The mandate, as I'm saying, under the PNDC law 81, Ghana Cocoa Board 1984, PBC is supposed to be the buyer of last resort. And in 106 districts is where we have it. So now if you are downsizing them, it means you are closing some of the buying centers. And then how do you buy? Yesterday, when Titi Boaf was speaking, he said the reason why government and Cocoa Board is supporting PBC is because they move to areas where the other LDCs are not prepared to do.
Well, Nana Jenny Boateng, we're grateful. I promise you, this is an issue that would interrogate further subsequently. He's a former CEO of the produce buying company, also disputing claims that the current management or the previous management should be blamed for the current woes of the company. We are listening to the Midday News. It's live on Joy 99.7 FM, sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank, where Duraplus goes, water flows. We've been taking a look at the Electricity Company of Ghana proposing tariff adjustment and review of government subsidies as debt owed to independent power producers and others, threatening the very existence of the company. When we return, we have sports. We'll look at the dangers for the fishing industry in Ghana as activities of pirates forces Ghanaian fishing vessels to retreat or face attacks, and much later, high life or dancehall.
It took some time for people to understand that, oh, this guy is actually more versatile than just a dancehall artist. For me, it's just growth.
We'll get to hear from musician Episode on his newfound love, High Life. Please stay with me. Thanks for staying with us. Let's do sports now.
Yes, Emefa. Now, Ghanaian boxer Seth Jima, popularly known as Freezy McBones, has been tagged the British Mike Tyson after knocking out a man 30 kg heavier than him during a trial fight organized by his promoters. The 33-year-old also produced a stunning performance to record a unanimous victory over Daryl Sharp on Saturday. Freezy admires Mike Tyson but remains focused on his personal development.
I watch Mike Tyson. I love the way he beat people, knock people out, and the way he fight in the ring. That is the thing. I can't take it out from me. I always watch Mike Tyson. So as you can see, some of my fight, anytime I jump in the ring and I bite my gum up, I'm straight to work on my peekaboo, which is Mike Tyson style, But I always do me. I always look up to me. I always want to be the best. I want to do more and more. The fight I had 2 days ago, I want to have more better than that. That is my dream.
So that's Ghanaian boxer Freezy McBones.
Well, the new sensation. Highlight for dancehall.
You have Stoneboy and Shatawale, of course, dancehall.
You're indeed a young one. Thank you. Well, let's talk about other stories. And there's danger for the fishing industry in Ghana as activities of pirates forces Ghanaian fishing vessels to retreat or face attacks, especially on Benin waters. The vessels licensed to fish in international waters say they are under constant attack from the pirates operating in La Côte d'Ivoire. We can hear from the Secretary of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana, Ni Ama Amatefio. That's an interaction between himself and President Akufo-Addo.
We are getting signals that the pirates are coming back. So we hope to go back and meet with the Navy to see what it is that we could do together to carry that process forward.
What is the signals that John has?
I think this week we heard that the pirates were in La Côte d'Ivoire and they tried hijacking a ship in Côte d'Ivoire and
Côte d'Ivoire and Congo.
Yes.
And the waters in Côte d'Ivoire. Where?
Abidjan.
Yes. Not further down.
Not further down. Okay. It's giving us cause to worry.
Now, President of the Inshore Fishers Association, Ni Ama Kwe, also raised concerns about the threatening of the activities of the inshore dock on the lives of its members.
The inshore vessels, which are made of wooden vessels, nails, and then just some caulking thread. Most of the vessels are secondary harbor, over 400 vessels. And we don't have any place to lift our vessels and repair them well and go to sea and come back safely. The last time the minister asked his director to come and let's go and meet the management of the York Boat Yards, which I think it was under divestiture, and he bought it. Almost 20 years now, he doesn't care. All efforts to prepare the place. It's on I being their president. I nearly lost 36 fishermen 2 months ago, so I've packed my vessel down. It was just last week I was able to build a new one at a cost of about 400,000 Ghana cedis. So I want you to give the minister some support to call the one who bought the York Boat Yards. If it's not prepared to replay the place for us, we will clamp down. He won't enter his office. That one will ask permission from you, because it's like he doesn't respect the fishermen.
Well, President Akufo-Addo promised to fix this situation.
But I think that the matters that you have brought here, especially about the boat yard, Gihawk, the restoration of all these facilities, are matters we will look into very closely with her, and you will get some feedback from us as to the way forward. The other issues, marine oil, fuel, and subsidies on them, these are matters where the finance minister will also have to come in.
Let's do a bit of politics now. And constituents of Kumewu in the Ashanti region have described a renewed drive to construct roads in the area as a desperate attempt by the NPP to win the upcoming by-election. And Ayojima has more.
Roads Minister Kwesi Amoakwanta in October 2019 promised the people of Kumewu that funding for roads in the area had been secured. He promised the 5.2-kilometer road project would be completed by June 2020 at a cost of 12 million cedis. President Akufo-Addo subsequently moved to cut sword for the project. I was here when the president came to cut sword at the roundabout. He promised that the road would be fixed from Raso to Ejoso, but they refused to fix it. The contractor have now moved equipment to site. Mr. Amoakwanta, who visited the site last week, gave reasons.
Kumewu roads have had a checkered history. We have awarded those roads twice, but we were disappointed, by the contractors.
The road leading to Kumewu and other town roads are riddled with potholes, and several others are untarred. The death of Member of Parliament Philip Baswa has necessitated a by-election in the constituency. In the previous election, the New Patriotic Party recorded a drop in electoral fortunes in the area. Many see the party's fear of losing the seat as reason for the move to construct the Kumo roads.
Well, that's the situation in Kumewu. We're still focusing on that. Now, Musician Episode has in the last few months released high life songs despite being noted for dancehall. He explains to Andy Dusty that he's simply growing and not necessarily changing his style.
It started from me trying to paint my face. That was adding the African identity to the brand, the reggae dancehall artist. And then now decided to drop songs like Wahala Day, which is not a reggae or dancehall song. It's just that yes, because I was tagged reggae dancehall artist, that side wasn't really strong until Latina dropped. It took some time for people to understand that, oh, this guy is actually more versatile than just a dancehall artist, so for me it's just growth, just like I'm saying, is growth for me.
It's a wrap for us here on the Midday News. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Gertrude Tokono penciled as Chief Justice replaced Kwesi Enini Yeboah. Also, April 24 declared a public holiday for Eid al-Fitr celebrations. There's more myjoyonline.com. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil is up next. I am Emefa Apawu.